Welcome to the Career Mosaic, where we explore the journeys of transformation, of passion, and unexpected career paths. I'm your host, Mandeep Singh Bucher from MindScan Education. Earlier, we celebrated our students taking bold steps abroad in our series called The Overseas Mosaic. Today, we pivot to a powerful lesson right here at home: the freedom to follow what truly matters and to follow your passion. Joining me is Tanvi, a banker turned brand evangelist. She worked with Citibank and then embraced her passion to follow social entrepreneurship, launching Indiawale, which supported Indian artisans, thereby creating both cultural perseverance and economic impact. Subsequently, she founded Cinemon, finding her true calling in a brand identity firm where she designs strategy and where she helps businesses become brands that people genuinely want to connect with. Today, we'll hear how she made this leap, the skills that transferred across all these fields, and critical advice for students who feel locked into one path. Welcome, Tanvi, and great to have you on this episode of the Career Mosaic with us. As you're aware, this is where we are talking to parents and teenagers who are perhaps confused. They're unsure कि आगे life में क्या करना है. And we felt, why not speak with professionals, speak with entrepreneurs who've already been through that journey and share learnings with them. So I'm going to start off where you perhaps started your professional journey. You started your career with Citibank, and that's the one thing we have in common. I had a short stint with Citibank. I know that we've spoken a lot about how you enjoyed what you did at Citibank. And then you pivoted to being a social entrepreneur and then to what you're doing today, building brands. So tell me, through all this, what do you feel the role your education, your formal education played in all this?
My education, Mandeep, has played a very pivotal role in where I'm today, right from my schooling all the way to post-graduation. Firstly, during those academic years, I actually lived in 4 cities.
Wow.
And that, I feel, gives you an edge in terms of the exposure that it gives you. It gives you access to different people and also microcultures, considering we are in such a diverse country. So I did my schooling in Ambala, I did my undergrad in Chandigarh, my postgrad in Ahmedabad, and a 2 months internship in Bombay.
Lovely.
So this really helped me. Of course, as life translates, eventually I started doing something which was not directly related to my formal education. However, the school that I went to and the focus on holistic education, when I look back, that was actually the most fundamental aspect of where I see myself today.
Absolutely. And that's something that we always speak with people, that while education happens in a formal, structured classroom, in a structured environment, there is perhaps as much learning that happens outside the classroom. And I think when you're talking about having studied in 4 different cities, engaged with people from diverse backgrounds, that all adds to education. And of course, Chandigarh is another thing we have in common. So that we'll talk of maybe later. But let's just come to a question or a area of concern for a teenager. They feel pressured कि यार 16, 17, 18 की उम्र में how do I decide, how can I be sure कि मेरे को यही करना है? So you've already spoken that जो आप कर रहे हो is different from your formal education, but still there has to be a path that we can lay down or help these youngsters navigate. So what are the learnings, if I could call it, or if you were just to speak with a teenager today, what would you tell him or her?
तो जिस पड़ाव से मैं आज बात कर रही हूँ ना मनदीप, इट्स वेरी इजी टू लुक बैक एंड कनेक्ट द डॉट्स. लेकिन वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट थिंग्स जो मैंने सीखी इन कुछ सालों में, इसके अगर एजुकेशन आपकी को रिलेटेड हो विद व्हाट यू इवेंचुअली एंड अप डूइंग, आपको बहुत एडवांटेज मिलता है उसका.
Okay.
आप कभी भी फॉर्मल एजुकेशन को, एकेडमिक्स को, थ्योरेटिकल एस्पेक्ट ऑफ चीजों को अंडरमाइन नहीं कर सकते in terms of what value they end up bringing.
Absolutely.
When you enter the workforce. और
Right.
ये ना आपको धीरे धीरे ही over a period of time दिखता है. When you are 16, 17, आज तो बहुत ज्यादा options है. But at least when we went to school, तो फिर आपके पास ना कुछ standard buckets ही थी जिसमें से आप choose कर सकते थे. Science में भी med, non-med और commerce और arts. इस तरह की diversity of picking subjects of interest or having different curriculums or pedagogical approaches, वो थी ही नहीं हमारे टाइम पे.
True.
I actually started with wanting to be a lawyer and giving my law exam, entrance examinations, not going for that, going and doing BCom. फिर लोगों ने कहा कि यार MBA की prep कर रहे हैं तो हमने भी कर ली, अच्छा college मिल गया. In a way, there was a sense of randomness to my education. The only saving grace was that I was really good at academics. So over the years, it kept serving me well. There is pressure, but there is also a lot more, education today. हमारे time पे we did not even have career counselors that you had easy access to. Absolutely. There would be that one-off, and parents सोचते भी नहीं थे कि वो कंसिडर करना चाहिए. ऑफन होता था कि वन कजन इज डूइंग दिस, उसकी अच्छी जॉब लग गई या वो IIT में पहुंच गए. टुडे इट्स डिफरेंट. टुडे इट्स सो पैशन बेस्ड आल्सो. यस, सो अल्टीमेटली इट हेल्प्स टू हैव हैड दैट काइंड ऑफ एजुकेशन. और बाकी तो रब रखा हो ही जाता है.
True, but I just want to build on the point you mentioned that if your education is somewhere in line with what you want to do, yes, it definitely adds value. But what I'd want to just say at this point for the students and parents who are watching, it's not always possible to think ahead and say, maine ye karna hai, so I should study this. It's also about being aware of your own strengths. It's also about being aware of areas that perhaps you need to develop further. And even if you approach it that way, you will be able to pull out from your education. You will be able to derive a lot of benefits from the education. And as I'm sure we'll learn in your experiences, then those serve you well later in your career.
Oh, absolutely. It's really, really critical. बात ना क्लैरिटी की होती है. हर बारी एक टाइम पे नहीं आती है. कभी कभी आपको शायद एग्जैक्टली ये नहीं पता होता है ये करना है. बट अगर आप इतना भी अवेयरनेस गेन करने लग जाओ कि ये शायद नहीं करना है या ये मेरा कोर एरिया नहीं है, दिस इज नॉट एन एरिया ऑफ स्ट्रेंथ, दैट इज ऑल्सो अ गुड इनफ स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to jump to a thing which happened later chronologically, the internship that you did with HSBC. So as career counselors, we are always advising parents, advising students, get a sense of what you may want to do. And internships is one of the best way to do it. So help us understand, how did that internship work for you? Do you actually feel it gave you clarity? Let me not plant any thoughts in your mind. Just tell us about the internship.
That internship was very special. First of all, it is my first exposure to the working world. And then to intern at HSBC, which is a global bank, and then to do it at their India headquarters in Fort Mumbai, which is pretty much the financial hub. मैंने तो इतना बड़ा इंस्टीट्यूशन इस तरह की जगह देखी ही नहीं थी. So internships is something I really, really vouch for. I wish at least through my journey, I had laid more emphasis on doing more internships. Some basic things जो आप सीखते हो ना, एक तो professional conduct क्या होता है. How are you expected to behave in a workspace?
Very true.
बहुत ही basic चीज है, but it's so critical. We learn that later in life.
Yes.
You learn how to also draft good emails. You learn how to communicate better. Nuanced communication क्या होती है, formal communication क्या होती है. My internship, Mandi, was so special because I was working with the priority lending sector of HSBC, which means that the RBI actually mandates all banks to have a certain amount of their asset allocation. ये थोड़ा सा technical हो गया, but we can put like little notes at the bottom कि priority sector क्या होता है, in initiatives which are financially inclusive.
Right.
So back in 2010, financial inclusion was not such a buzzword as it has been today because of digital payments and UPI. So I was working with that department. Brilliant access to the kind of organizations we worked with. And there I worked with a bank. We were supporting a bank called Mandeshi Mahila Bank in Maharashtra. It's absolutely huge. Their founder, Chetna Sinha, is the first woman I met who was so inspiring because with a capital of 25 lakhs, she actually created a bank which was only for women.
Wow.
And we were digitizing that bank. So HSBC was taking up all of the digitization of that bank, which was headquartered in Satara in Maharashtra. And we were in a village called Maswad in Maharashtra. I never even stayed in rural India. So it was just eye-opening and so humbling and so amazing. And to go from home to home and meet women who are not educated, कोई 2 रुपए की सेविंग कर रहा है, कोई 5 रुपए की कर रहा है, फिर उनकी बायोमेट्रिक डिटेल्स लेकर आप उनका बैंक अकाउंट क्रिएट कर रहे हो. Absolutely brilliant exposure. So that's what I was fortunate to get access to a project like this. And then we also participated in the media launch that happened there.
Okay.
So to see a lot of media professionals come in, how corporate communications really work, what is the messaging that needs to go out in the world, that is essentially what that project was all about. And me and my colleague who were assigned to this department, we actually submitted this internship project for 2 summer internship competitions in India.
Wow.
So there are also a lot of summer internship competitions that happen.
Very
we
true.
submitted, we were selected, and in both places, we got the bronze, which eventually, when I sat for my final placements, was the star on my CV.
Absolutely. I mean, anyone that you work with, okay, that was a structured job. But even as an entrepreneur, when we speak with people, when we are pitching our services to people, while they definitely want to know our technical knowledge, that goes without saying, but our experiences and how we are able to learn from the varied experiences, I think plays a huge role in that. And I think when you were talking about this thing, and you said you were inspired by this lady who started this bank.
Yes.
So in my mind, I'd guessed that the entrepreneurial bug was perhaps planted there, and you said, yeah, there's so much more to do. I'm assuming as way back in 2010, there weren't any set pathways, and you guys perhaps dived headlong into it and said, ye karna hai, ye karna hai, ye karna hai. And perhaps that's where the entrepreneurial bug perhaps came up. So let's switch to that. So I think about 8 years ago is when you decided to exit the corporate world. Entrepreneurial bug started, and you started a company called Indiawale.
Yes.
So tell us about that. What sparked that interest? Because what I know of it was something unique, and I know it was special for you.
So Indiawale was a social enterprise. And I have always been obsessed with the idea of impact. That's something we also look at in Cinemon, which is essentially a brand building organization.
Right.
And back in 2016, na bahut sare homegrown craft related brands nahi hote the. Today you have a lot of access to craft clusters. You have a lot of homegrown brands which are working with artisans and reviving crafts in India.
Right.
Tab itna nahi hota tha, and I wanted it to be e-commerce based.
Okay.
Because that had already made its case in India, and it was growing. That's when I set up Indiawale. I don't think I was very happy doing it. I loved it. I don't think I was very happy because वो मेरा core skill set नहीं था.
Right.
I liked more intellectual pursuits in the sense that I was not even a formal designer. Again, we go back to, the value of education here. Okay, I did not go to a design school. So design was something जो मेरे लिए intuitive था. But the psychology of design and the anatomy of design, वो तो मैंने कभी पढ़ा ही नहीं था.
That was foreign to you.
Yes, and that is something that I try to learn on the job. My biggest learning, Mandeep, with Indiawale, and I tell this to all the children that come to Cinemon for internship or any youngster that talks to me about their career, is that अगर आप कोई business start कर रहे हो ना, please go and work in that industry.
Learn about it before you dive in.
Oh my God, absolutely.
True.
If you can be formally trained in it, अगर आप academically उसमें train हो सकते हो, तो perfect. Because that gives you a really good foundation.
True.
And then you must go out there in the world and work with an organization that is in that discipline, in that domain, because otherwise you'll end up learning on your time, your effort, your money.
Yes. Absolutely. Very, very valid point. Amazing. I think that really sums it up well, that you have to learn. Why not do it with someone else? One view, of course, is their money, their time. But second, and more importantly, you have a mentor who understands that and who can help you learn and avoid pitfalls and learn what's important. So very true. And then you shifted to Cinemon. So before we talk about Cinemon, I just want to talk about जो एक parent का mindset होता है कि हाय मेरा बच्चा settle नहीं हुआ. And I'm sure as a youngster, that thought would have perhaps come to your mind. So purely from a angle of self-confidence, bravery, whatever word you want to use to it, just tell us about that period of time. You said, यार मैंने ये छोड़ दिया, मैंने ये किया. Now am I switching again? What helped you during that time? Because especially today, and you spoke about this, choices are so many today. So kids at times feel, हाँ यार चलो ये off करके on कर लेंगे, ये कर लेंगे. But I'm sure there is a cost or there is a journey. So would you be willing to talk about that for a minute so that people understand it's not a cakewalk?
It is not. I realized that it is about projection.
Okay.
आप अपनी जर्नी को कैसे देखते हो, कैसे actually what you believe. If you believe that I tried something and I failed at it and oh my god I'm a failure, वही energy आप सबको दोगे and that is how the world is going to respond to it. But if you say, hey, you know what, I tried, it didn't work out and I learned something fabulous from it.
That's the point. You have to be able to learn even from what could be perceived as a failure or what didn't go as planned.
I think all the courage, all the conviction that I have that created Cinemon or made it what it is comes from those years of Indiawale. No year, no time in your life goes waste. No person that you meet, that interaction goes to waste because you never know कि वो कहाँ से जुड़ जाए, because in this whole mosaic that you're building of your life and of your work and of your education, you never know who comes in where. In that journey, of the transition, I also knew that there were lessons I had learned. For example, doing something that I needed to be educated in. So when I said that I worked in it, it was also in a way I was consuming informal on-ground education about that discipline. And that is where the difference starts happening. You also have to trust the timing of things in life.
Correct.
I tell this to all youngsters because you never know that somebody around you could have gotten this great job. I got that job. Correct. I got a day zero placement from Citibank. And I had a fabulous time working that organization. I learned so much out there. But maybe that is not something I wanted. I did not aspire to be at the top in that food chain of a corporate.
Correct.
That did not make me very happy. And I chose to leave that behind as I was growing in that career to pick up a very unconventional path of becoming an entrepreneur without having any prior experience.
And
a social entrepreneur at that. So, ये भी जरूरी होता है समझना कि, for example, you work with so many students, Mandeep, and you would see some of them are great at one subject.
True.
मतलब जो उनका way of perceiving and viewing the fundamentals or concepts and thinking out of the box in a particular subject is so brilliant.
Correct.
And it's always a great idea to pursue it further because it's also about finding, that your own spark and your own niche and brilliance.
Absolutely. I love what you said, Tanvi, and what really stood out for me is, and you brought it out in a couple of different ways, understand yourself and have confidence in yourself. Don't let self-doubt creep in, because then unfortunately it's a downward spiral from there. All right. So now Cinemon works on building brands. Okay. And at least I know from, again, my MBA days, I think working as a brand manager is something we all felt, wow, yaar, this is the best kind of thing we can do. At least for myself, I know as I learned more about organizations during MBA, summer training at Pepsi is something I did.
Wow.
My interest shifted towards sales, which was not considered as glamorous. But the point I just want to raise is that at times something bahar se seems glamorous, ji yahi karna hai, and for you it actually panned out. So tell us, what really are the skills, what is the attitude that is required for someone who wants to build a career building brands, whether in an organization or maybe on their own? So let's spend a couple of minutes on that. What would your advice and your experiences tell a youngster wanting to embark on this path?
So branding and marketing as it is seems very glamorous, right?
Yes.
And you have so many youngsters who get attracted to this career. इसके अंदर ना, and you add influencers and the whole social media wave.
Correct.
So even more. The first thing is, Mandi, what you mentioned about sales. मुझे लगता है कि sales करना, sales का एक job करना is so critical.
Okay.
You cannot build a brand, you cannot be a marketing manager, cannot be a marketer if you don't know how to sell.
Agreed.
You have to, ultimately to build a brand, you have to get the proof from the market by being able to sell that product and then eventually building long-term loyalty. अब इसमें क्या होता है कि सिर्फ social media पे trends देख के आप कुछ long-term, कुछ ऐसा which has an emotional resonance with your audience नहीं create कर पाओगे. What you need to do to be very successful in a career of branding or marketing is to be a curious mind. is to be a very good observer. Because you need to see things around you. Branding and psychology also go hand in hand.
Yes, absolutely.
So you have to understand human behavior क्या होता है, thoughts कैसे हो सकते हैं, आते हैं, how does the mind make patterns? All of that, you know, the neuroscience of it is so critical, which is not taught to us so much.
Yes,
but it's important.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes, absolutely unfortunate. But it's so important to give yourself exposure to. एक term होता है called taste maxing.
Taste maxing.
Yeah.
Okay. First time I've heard of this.
Yeah. So if we say that what you do in branding and marketing is also to create good art, right? Because you might be आज आप शायद reels बना रहे हो, videos बना रहे हो, आप कुछ graphics बना रहे हो, किसी form में अलग-अलग तरीकों से website से communicate कर रहे हो. What is it that people are visually seeing? Right? And you have to create something which looks beautiful, which has an emotional connect.
Okay.
And how do you do that? The only way to create good art is to first see good art.
Okay.
And that's where something like taste maxing also comes up. और ये ऐसी चीज है जो आप एक छोटी एज से ही कर सकते हो. When you are seeing different forms of content, for example, or you're seeing a movie and you look at certain transitions or you look at the way the story is moving ahead, उन्होंने graphics add कर दिए या उन्होंने CGI को कैसे use किया, उन्होंने cuts कैसे लगाए, and how do you plug that eventually when you get a brief to make an advertisement for a client is what taste maxing is all about, and an absolutely critical trait when it comes to this career.
Awesome. So I'm going to try and convert it into my lingo. I think what you're saying is every experience you have has the ability to teach you something. So whether you're going for a movie, you took the example of seeing, while you may enjoy the movie, you may enjoy the hero killing 100 people or, you know, doing something. But also if your mind is open to the technicalities behind it, that will leave something for you. Is that
Absolutely.
basically? So learning is everywhere. Awesome. I think, you know, maybe we should switch seats because you're actually talking like a career counselor and I think it comes from your own experiences. So let's just, we spoke about the internship with HSBC. You already highlighted कि आपने वहाँ, you were exposed to different things, आपने सीखा, and I'm sure those learnings are still with you. Thinking back to that time, 8-10 years earlier when you did this internship, if you could, 2 skills that you feel you learned or were relevant then and are still relevant today, or have things changed so much कि जो उस time सीखा था आज relevant ही नहीं है?
Fundamentals तो हमेशा same ही रहते हैं ना, उनकी packaging change हो जाती है in life.
Okay.
The art of writing good emails, so critical.
Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you there. Today, where a majority of youngsters send voice notes, okay, where writing is done by AI. Help me understand, help the audience understand, why are you saying it's so critical?
Because एक होता है content, एक होता है context, और एक होता है tone of voice. और वो ना intentional होनी चाहिए. One word here or there also changes the structure and the context of what message you're about to send across. I mean, I remember very early when I started Cinemon, there was a client we were trying to approach, and they asked for us to pitch ourselves on email, and we did not even have a website back then. And I wrote this email pre-AI. This is before ChatGPT was launched.
Now you're giving away your age, Tanvi.
Yes, because I did my internship also 15 years ago. So, you know, and that client actually said to his marketing head that I have not seen someone write an email like that in a very long time. And just for this, we have to meet her.
You have to meet.
Yeah. तो ये ना बड़ी जरूरी होती है. आप एक क्लाइंट को मैसेज कैसे कर रहे हो, वो भी बहुत.
It's an extension of yourself. जो आप लिख रहे हो tells the reader about you, and that is that what you meant by context?
What is it that we want to achieve from an interaction is very, very important. ये ऐसे भी translate होता है कि आप एक मीटिंग कैसे कंडक्ट करते हो, आप एक मीटिंग में अपने आप को प्रेजेंट कैसे करते हो. अर्लियर इन द एजुकेशन, आप जब MBA करने के लिए जाते हो तो आपका एक ग्रुप डिस्कशन राउंड होता है, आपके पर्सनल इंटरव्यू राउंड्स होते हैं. दीज थिंग्स मैटर देयर. आप जब अब्रॉड पढ़ने के लिए जाते हो, आप एक कवर लेटर लिखते हो. एक स्टेटमेंट ऑफ पर्पस लिखते हो. सो इफ यू नो हाउ टू राइट वेल, इफ यू नो हाउ टू बेसिकली आर्टिकुलेट, आपको कोई फैंसी वर्ड्स यूज करने की जरूरत नहीं है, बट यू शुड जस्ट नो कि क्या मेरे मैसेज का इंटेंट और ईथॉस निकल के आ रहा है. सो दैट इट्स सच अ सटल आर्ट. ऐसा लगता है कि इसमें क्या है एक ईमेल लिखने की आर्ट में, बट आई रियली लर्नड दैट देयर. How to keep them formal, how to keep them structured, and how to keep them very respectful. And sometimes when you're not having the best of conversation, also how to subtly put the message across. So this is one thing I definitely learned in that internship. I also learned the value of being disciplined and doing good work.
Okay.
You know, good work is worth making compromises for. What happens is that, you know, when we have a lot of young energy that comes into Cinemon, because we love working with young people, they bring in a certain sense of fierceness and freshness to the work, which is important in today's time.
Correct.
We have to consider, Mandeep, के जो audience है, purchase कौन करेगा? जो आज शायद 20 साल का है, वो 5 साल में जब 25 का होगा, वो मार्केट में सामान खरीदना शुरू हो जाएगा.
Correct.
तो आपको तो अपना ब्रांड ऐसे बिल्ड करना शुरू करना है that today onwards he or she starts seeing it and starts, you know, building some association or thinking कि यार हाँ इनसे खरीदना है.
And that's what you're doing at Cinemon. You're trying to identify who the person might be and help the organization actually start that connect.
Yeah, you have to work backwards. There is no other way about it. Because the brand is never the hero of the story, the customer is. It is his or her problem you're solving. It is his or her life you're bringing ease into. So they have to be at the center of it. And it's like a movie. It's really like a movie. You have to play the role of a mentor. It's like Sholay mein, or maybe, you know, I'm really going back in time. But let's talk Dhurandhar. Okay? Ranveer Singh is the hero of the movie, the main character, and that's your customer. And they have a problem. They have a purpose that they need to fulfill. They're on a mission for their life and for their nation. And they have mentors in that journey. Their biggest mentor is actually played by Madhavan, who plays, you know, the Indian intelligence officer, who is the guide जो वहाँ से जिनकी आवाज उसको सुनती रहती है, messages याद आते रहते हैं कि सबर करो. So that is the role of a brand in a customer's journey.
Lovely. So mentors are important throughout.
Absolutely.
Awesome way to bring that out. So I think in the same vein, so one of the things that we talk about with young kids is the ability or the need to have an attitude of lifelong learning. Unlike, at least in my time, where you could think, चलो जी पढ़ाई कर ली बस अब तो नौकरी करेंगे.
Yes.
And there were maybe just not even a handful, just 1 or 2 careers where we said, यार पूरी जिंदगी पढ़ना पड़ेगा. You know, doctors needed to, lawyers, and to some extent people who got into academics. But today the concept has changed. So as you've gone on this journey, Tanvi, can you pick up 1 or 2 moments or a few things where you've realized कि यार ये चीजें मेरे को अभी भी सीखनी है, even though I'm my own boss, I've started my own company, I know you're working with some top brands globally, but is that attitude actually relevant, or is that just something counselors like me like to say कि नहीं boss आपको सीखना पड़ेगा?
So lifelong learning से ज़्यादा relevant तो कुछ होता ही नहीं है. Otherwise, you end up becoming irrelevant. Okay. I am a reader, and Mandeep, that is the biggest thing that has contributed to Cinemon's success. Okay. Because I've been reading ever since I was a child. I don't know how many books I've read right now. Lekin every year I try, even through my schedule, कि मैं 12 से 15 books पढूं. A mix of fiction and non-fiction.
Absolutely.
Because I want to read about business, I want to read about psychology, but then I also want to read beautiful stories because they also build your mind in a certain way. I love to watch documentaries.
Okay.
I learn a lot from the documentaries that I see, and Netflix now has a great library of that. The latest thing I'm learning, and I really recommend this to all youngsters today, is AI.
Okay.
उसको हम escape नहीं कर सकते आज के time में. So at least I started with taking smaller courses on LinkedIn and getting certified in prompt engineering, in vibe coding, and bringing access to more and more AI tools and how we can use it for efficiency. True. But not to replace the human mind. It's, you and I both know, it's only going to get bigger.
Yes.
तो अगर आप स्कूल में हो या कॉलेज में हो और आप उसी टाइम से थोड़े थोड़े कोर्सेज उसमें भी करने शुरू कर दो, then it's going to go such a long way. And it will give you an edge when you go out in the working world.
Absolutely. Use AI as an enabler rather than thinking of it as some foreign object that
Yes.
will replace and do stuff like that. Perfect. Awesome. Tanvi, you spoke when we started this conversation about your school. So tell me about some experiences of school and how do you think school actually shaped the Tanvi that is sitting in front of us today?
So I went to an absolutely amazing school, Convent of Jesus and Mary in Ambala, Kent.
Okay.
Ambala being a small town, however, my school was a missionaries of charity school and we had some great exposure. Also ना वो एक ऐसा स्कूल है जहाँ पे होलिस्टिक एजुकेशन पे बहुत फोकस होता था तो वी वर
Lovely.
नॉट जस्ट एकेडमिकली इंक्लाइंड कि सिर्फ आप बोर्ड्स की तरफ ही आपका फोकस्ड है या सिर्फ पढ़ाई पे है in the different houses that we have जो schools में होते हैं we would have these weekly monthly competitions. We had so much going on, from debate competitions to declamation to even poster making and rangoli and all of that stuff. And ever since I went to middle school, I participated in everything.
Lovely.
I was a very shy kid, Mandeep, when I was, in junior school, and it looks very unlikely to believe now. But very quickly, I'll tell you this great story. I was in standard 5th. Teachers का कितना role होता है, right? आपको identify करने में. And very shy child, जो ज़्यादा बोलते भी नहीं थे. And हमारे ना कभी exams नहीं हुए थे. सिर्फ unit tests होते थे. तो मुझे पता भी नहीं था how I rate academically. And we had उस time में ना ruffle lays होता था. And they were promoting their chips. They had a tagline called "No one can eat just one." Ruffle
Correct.
lays.
Yes.
And they were also coming to our school. They did an extempo competition, 1 minute वाला, class 5th, 6th, 7th. और हर standard से 3 बच्चे pick हो रहे थे. So जो हमारे class के 2 सबसे confident speakers थे, they were picked. And the third, my teacher said, we will pick Tanvi. And of course, I was nervous because I'd never really done this. And my mom helped me prep for it. And, just the evening before, she said, let's run a few topics. And, we also, ran this topic, no one can eat just one, about school, class, all of that stuff. Next day, when I go there, and I pick the chit from the bowl, because मैं bowl से उठा के immediately आपको extempo करना पड़ता है. The chit said, no one can eat just one. And the way I started, all animated. To my surprise, from those 3 grades, I actually was awarded the first prize.
Lovely.
And that to me goes back as that one pivot. It just takes that one moment to change your journey. And uske baad, चाहे स्कूल के डिबेट कॉम्पिटिशंस हो या डेक्लेमेशन हो या इवन इंटर रीजन डेक्लेमेशन एंड और कॉम्पिटिशंस हो, then there was no looking back. So if I have to sum it in a very, very simple line, my school actually gave me the voice that I carry today and the confidence that I carry to speak in public.
Awesome. Great to hear about such words of appreciation for schools. Awesome, Tanvi. Last question, because at MindScan, we do talk about the need for practical exposure, practical learning, because padhai is not only in the classroom, it's outside as well. So for any youngster who's listening to this podcast and feels, I want to make a career in branding, can they get an opportunity to intern at Cinemon?
Oh, absolutely. Cinemon believes a lot in internships.
Okay.
We have summer internship programs. We have live projects. We also have all the year-round internships. So if you want to intern with Cinemon, then of course this episode is going to carry our details, and you can just reach out to me on LinkedIn and send in your resume. We would be very, very happy to consider. Internships at Cinemon are all about teaching.
Okay.
So we do share a lot. We make it the kind of internship that I had, which has to be an eye into what the future really holds in this space. And anyone who comes in with the mindset and with the energy to learn and to also be willing to put in the hours, because we also take people through, the drill.
There is a rigor to it.
There is a rigor to it. It's not a paper internship that we do. The more you want to learn, and every time, an intern comes to Cinemon, we've had at least 20 in the past 5.5 years. We always say that we will give you as much as you want to take from us. So just feel free to ask. Whatever you want to learn, we will teach you. I have had interns who have blocked my time forcefully and said, take us through the fundamentals. And I've done 5-6 hours over the internship course, just exclusively with them, breaking down the fundamentals of our business, of this discipline, for them to learn it from that lens as well. So internships at Cinemon is something that are always open, and we love to take on interns. It's a valuable exchange that we do. And also internships everywhere are so critical.
True. Thank you so much, Tanvi. I think the stuff that we spoke about in this conversation, right from the importance of school, having clarity in yourself, that's something you spoke about repeatedly, having confidence in yourself and actually following through, but not being afraid of the rigor. Don't fall for hype. Don't fall for what you see on social media. The value of internships, the value of lifelong learning. I think this will be a masterclass for any parent or student who listens to this. Thank you so much, Tanvi, for having this conversation with us on the Career Mosaic. And it was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Mandeep. It was a very special conversation. And to all the kids out there, lots of love.
Tanvi, thank you for sharing your extraordinary double pivot from Citibank to Indiawale and then Cinemon's branding revolution. Your story shatters the myth that academic choices define destiny. You highlighted the importance of extracurricular activities and how a good mentor can point you in the right direction. The importance of lifelong learning shone through and proves transferable skills plus authentic passion equal limitless possibilities. Connect with Tanvi and Cinemon Consulting via LinkedIn. Thank you for listening to the Career Mosaic. Share this episode if it sparked your pivot thinking. Subscribe for more proof you can reinvent at any stage. Until next time, find your Cinemon and make your story unforgettable. Thank you for watching the Career Mosaic.